Probably will remove the Twitter one. I ain't tripping because that's just doing too much. Peace and love, everybody. I hope that we can get some things situated here so that I am live and you can hear me live, you can see me live. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be live in your house. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be live with all of you. That's what I'm trying to do. So, is it real right now? It is. It is real. I'm also on Twitter. I'm sorry, I'm also on YouTube with this message today. Hoping that the sister circle that the sisters will come on and join. You know what I'm saying? Come on and join the conversation with me today. Because we having such a beautiful talk, you know, sisters, and there's nothing like having y'all on here with the old girl. You know what I mean? To come on and talk about this subject that we're gonna be talking about. I'm trying to still, and I don't have a lot of time. I was trying to send it to a couple of more people before we get on and popping, y'all. You know, I like to make sure y'all watching. Well, not necessarily watching, but don't miss nothing. I don't want y'all to miss anything, so that's why I make sure I try to send you all. And this topic today is just so like fascinating and so just like needed because I don't recall having this conversation at my dinner table. We've had a lot of conversations at my dinner table. I ain't knocking the hustle, but I don't recall this specific one. So that's why I'm trying to get a few of the brothers on with too, but it's not working out the way I wanted to for the brothers. That don't make no sense. Cause you would think, you know what I'm saying? Like you send it to the brothers and our brothers gonna get it and we gonna be on and crack a lacking. But that's not the case. Okay, so what I want to do here today, sisters, first of all, get my head together. We can't be looking like we crazy on camera. You know what I'm saying, boo boo? We got to look a little decent on the camera. Okay, so the subject today is, guess what? Child support. Child Support Awareness Month. August is Child Support Awareness Month, sisters and brothers. And this topic can go to various lengths. I mean, we could talk all night about this topic and how important it is for our family. So I just wanted to, pull out some things that sort of stick out to me. I think about various cases where sisters and brothers have lost their lives due to cases involving child support, and of course, involving things like domestic violence and mental health issues and all of those things, anxiety. Child support can bring on all of those things for a family. Um, and especially more so when we don't understand or don't have those conversations about child support. I think they tend to affect us more because we don't have those talks. So that's why it's good that we, have those hard topic dinner table conversations because at the end of the day, somebody got to say something about it. You know what I mean? And so if we not talking about it, then how do we know sisters are getting the help or brothers are getting the help that they need regarding, the subject? I get a lot of victims who say, I just wanted out. I didn't want to, negotiate anything. I just didn't get an agreement to make sure that the children were okay. I didn't, think about if I needed X, Y, and Z moving forward. I never thought that we would get a divorce. And so therefore I never planned for the child support. I never planned for her to put me on child support, or I never planned for him to put me on child support. And then, of course, a lot of people use it as a pawn to, be controlling and dictating over somebody else's being, because the person may not want to be with you anymore. You use those things against them. And I know because I've done it. I've said things, I've threatened things around, child support in my earlier days. Before I knew the topic, before I knew how important the topic really is, and before I knew how important that you just don't play with a topic like that. It's serious business because it really does involve children, and it involves the upkeep and the well-being of children. So that's not something that you play with, but or you toy with somebody about, because um it's deadly. It can be a deadly situation, and it has been a deadly situation for so many people. And that's what we're going to talk about. So feel free to, of course, post your comments here with me in the classroom today, or I'm live in the Sister Circle group. You can definitely voice yourself there with me. I'm on YouTube. YouTube, come on, get involved and interact. My subscribers over there, subscribe to us over YouTube, because we do be interacting on our YouTube page to make sure we getting these hard topics out there for the community, for families, for dinner tables, for ministry, for barbershops and cosmetologists, because these people are very important in the subject called domestic violence. These people play an intricate part in um, being first responders of domestic violence. And I know they don't see themselves as, being that significant, but they are. So our faith-based community, you guys are first responders. Our cosmetologists, you guys are first responders to something like domestic violence. And so we definitely need y'all more involved and more educated on the topic, so that way when it comes to you, especially our cosmetologists and barbers and hairdressers, people that are doing the lashes, all of those beautiful hair, hair restoration, even some of our massage clinicians and people that are therapists and getting involved in the business, you guys see them bruises from domestic violence. You do. And you don't get into it, because what you gonna say? You there to try to help somebody who may be going through, you unbeknownst to you. But that's why it's good for you all to have that education and talk about that subject regarding that, because it makes you a better status. It makes you a better status. It does. And then the reason I'm saying it is because you can feel it in yourself that, wow, I was able to pass along to a resource to him, to her. I was able to not just see the marks, but I was also able to kind of, chime in a delicate way. Uh, that somebody is showing signs or telling me that they are in a domestic violence situation, especially if they telling you. Now, let me say something to you about domestic violence and toxicity, toxic relationships. So that's two different things. Two different things. Okay. Domestic violence is domestic violence. And if you go back and do your research, domestic violence leads to death in many cases. Toxicity is more like it's a buildup, you know. It's a buildup. It's minute. You're going to try to work on it. You're going to try to get over with toxic. Oh, it was a toxic situation, so I was able to. exit, you know what I mean, and find that toxicity in myself and work on it. Well, victims of domestic violence don't get out of it like that. You know, they have to devise a plan. They have to literally devise a plan that requires them to think in the process of them trying to exit a relationship. All right. And then it takes them at least 5 to 10 years to heal and begin to find themselves after something like domestic violence. So toxicity, it take you what, a year maybe? And you say, oh, I took a year off and, or 6 months. I took 90 days off and I feel much better. I feel like I can start over. I don't want to be this toxic person, so, there's a huge difference in domestic violence and toxic relationships. All right. They're really not linked together. But that's just my 2 cents on it. I mean, you definitely don't have to go along with what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's just my 2 cents on it. Because I don't want you to treat domestic violence like it's just sisters and brothers can just brush their shoulders off and keep going. No, it don't work like that. And that's for the brothers and the sisterhood. It don't work like that. For the brotherhood and the sisterhood, they don't get to just brush it off and go on to the next, you know, part of their day. Or they can take 90 days and, try to heal from it. Domestic violence, once you get into it, it is hard to get out of it. Once you get into it, it is extremely hard to get out of it because that abuser know everything about that victim, things that their own mother and father and children and people that are closest to them don't know. The abuser knows. All right. So that's why the devising of a plan and the seriousness of it is very serious. All right. Now you can talk to some victims and let them hear this and let them tell you if what I'm saying is true or false, be it a male or a female victim. All right, I'll let y'all work that out. So let me go ahead and get started in what we do here, and that is we talk about those hard topics, of course. Um, I want to share my screen. Hopefully, I don't get no backlash. And it looked like I might. I shared the wrong thing. There I go with that. Hold up, y'all. Give me a second. If you know me, if I can't get it all together here, I will get it together for my sisters and my brothers. Trust me. We will get in that classroom. All right, so here we are today with the dark side of child support and domestic violence. And I mean, again, there really is a dark side to it all. Nobody's perfect in something like this. We all need to be able to talk about it. We all need to be able to ask questions. We all need to be able to try to relate on the subject. There are many things that that can actually come out of this and make us better today because there's a lot of us who have children that are in domestic violence situations and we just don't know whether we're coming or going or what's going to be the right way to handle a situation when we in this domestic violence relationship but we're also trying to break away from that and then we trying to look out and do what is best for the children. So it's a lot of entities that that goes into something like this. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're trying to cover all of those areas and, open up that platform to be able to just have that conversation that is important. All right, so that's where we at today. Let's get into the history of it, or let's talk a little bit about the history of, child support, because that's a thing too. Like people don't even know, like a lot of times, where it started. Okay, so uh, the payments started from Bill Clinton, the Clinton administration in 1995 recognized August as the National Child Support Awareness Month in the United States of America on the 20th anniversary of the child support enforcement program. Child support enforcement was first, okay, and then 20 years later, Bill Clinton wanted to, initiate a month where we can spend time like we're doing today, getting educated and becoming more and more aware of how important child support is. And also, I'm talking about that dark side of child support. Um, from there on, every summer, the Child Support Organization recognized and celebrate the vital role of child support and social services communities that provide financial aid to Americans. Okay, so a periodic payment made by a parent, child support is mandated after a marital separation, an allotment, or other unforeseen factors. So you may have a child with someone, um, unplanned, may have, may have intended. You guys may have gotten a divorce, and you're working from child support from those unforeseen factors as well. Specifics of the child support plan would vary from state to state. So from state to state, they have some of their laws that are different from others. Therefore, child support is essential in overall well-being of a child, and there are child support laws and services that ensure the proper functioning of this system and that each child is well looked after. Okay. So I have sat around the dinner table and have heard sisters tell me that, oh, I don't need her for nothing. And her brother say, I don't need her for nothing. I don't need him for nothing. They say these things, but see, child support is not about you. It's about the well-being of the child and making sure that that parent is responsible for their $125,000 like you are responsible for your $125,000. Two parents pay for the cost of the child. There's not one parent just paying for the cost of the child unless, they say, I don't need child support enforcement. Whether you go to the court system or you guys sit at home and write in agreement, sister, you will pay 400 a month, brother, you month. See what I mean? Brothers and sisters still do child support agreement at home themselves. Okay, that's what we would like to see done first. The enforcement part comes in when you have potentially set agreements and set agreements and set agreements, and that parent is not following up or may have fell on hardship. We want to be understanding of that. We can work those things out before it goes to enforcement. Okay, is when the parent becomes negligent in payments that we agreed on outside of the court. See what I mean? So now I need a little bit of enforcement because I cannot enforce it on you. As the other parent, I cannot enforce it because I will go to jail myself trying to enforce it on you. So the enforcement part, the state can do that for us. That way we still can be there for our children and be there for our family. We're making productive and correct decisions for the well-being of the child or the children that are involved. Okay. I cannot enforce that for another parent to pay it. All right. Payment for child support. The average amount of money paid in child support, right, by non-custodial parents is about $430 a month for one child. All right. United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child declares that the upbringing and development of children and a standard of living adequate for the children's development is a common responsibility of both parents. No one parent pays the child support alone unless that parent is not paying the child support. Okay. So now that one parent is responsible for $250,000 as opposed to their $125,000. That number came from um, what it takes to take care of a child from 0 to That's how you get the 125,000 per parent, and then you get the 250,000 overall. The most common way to pay child support is to deduct it from the non-custodial parent's paycheck and distribute it into the custodial parent or guardian. All right, distributed to the parent or guardian. This is called wage withholding, and it can be voluntary or involuntary. So that the parent can say, yes, I'll do that, or no, I don't want to do that. The child support order include a provision for wage withholding, which requires the employer to transfer the amount to the appropriate agency, which could be the $430 being transferred from one agency to another to make sure that the child is getting, those funds through your jobs, through the way you earn your wages. All right. If you got any questions or comments out there, feel free to chime in with me. I would greatly appreciate that. We're gonna try to, get through this and get to the students. If you have any questions or comments, I definitely want to come back and shine light on those. Okay. Child support 50-50 custody. I know there's a lot of us who are going through, custody issues. Income shares model for collecting child support where both parents' income are considered, based on the concept that the child should receive the same proportion of parental income that he or she would have received if the parents lived together. In intact household, the income of both parents is generally pulled and sent from the benefit of all the household members, including any children. So here, with some states, you're going to do equal of what it takes to man that child in that household as if you were still living there in the household with the child. So you guys are mandate under a shares model, which you're going to share that income as if you were still living in the household with their parent. And of course, there are 41 states that do agree to this, and Virginia is one of them. New York is one of them. Maryland is one of them, um, as well as Tennessee, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New Mexico, Vermont, Washington, West Virginia, Wyoming. I thought this was interesting about states: Connecticut, Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts. Okay, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire. So there are several of the states who use the income shares model. The District of Columbia uses a model that starts as a percentage of income model and then reduced by a formula based on the custodial's parents' income. So DC, of course, can get a little complicated, all right. But point being, they have several models that they can use in DC. All right. Um, so I just put that out there. So when you're doing your research, you'll know that there is different levels to it. And it's not just, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and just snatch all this money from you and make it so hard that you can't live. No, that's not what it is about. Divorce and child support. So if parents are divorced, how does child support factor in? Divorce cases, child support payments may be determined as part of the divorce settlement, along with other issues such as alimony, custody, and visitation. If the other parent does not pay the child support owed, does the parent have does the parent have to pay the other parent visit with the child? Does the other parent have a right to withhold visits from that other parent that is not paying the child support? All right. Child support and visitation are not related to each other. If a parent does not pay child support, the other parent must continue to follow any visitation ordered in the court or by the court. Okay, so any visitation that you have by the court, they must continue, even if that parent is not paying the child support. All right. Now, when you go back to court, you can of course address that and let the judge take it to that next level. But in the meantime, in between time, you continue to follow your order because you want to look like you are on the straight and narrow. You're doing what's in the best interest of your child at all times. Okay. And I know that's hard. That's easier said than done. And most people, we don't have this conversation, so we don't know the severity of child support and the part that we play in it. We just think somebody is getting robbed, and there are some people who worry about, oh, he bought a new car. Oh, she bought a new car. Oh, she got all these designer bags. Oh, he got new shoes. We worry about all that, but the court's not worried about that. If you cannot prove that that child has been treated with neglect, suffering, maltreatment, not eating, abuse, is a victim of domestic violence, is a victim of child abuse, you have to stick to the order. You have to order, and you also have to stick to whatever that visitation order is in the divorce decree, whatever you agree upon, you have to stick to that. If you have any concerns, you address those concerns in mediation, or you address those concerns with the judge and let the judge take it to the next level. Not us as people take it to the next level, because then enforcement, we don't need enforcement. We don't need enforcement to help us maintain our anger, our struggle, our anxiety, and everything else we be going through in these situations involving child support and divorce and breaking up relationships, okay, or one night stands. All right. So let's just make sure we're thinking for what's in the best interest of the child. Can a parent refuse to pay child support? If the U.S. court determines that you are capable of paying child support, but deliberately choose not to, you may be held in contempt of court. This is what we don't want, because now you are taking the law into your own hands. So you didn't need the law. You could have just wrote an agreement, and you and your baby mother and your baby father could just keep going back and forth about the agreement outside of court. Don't involve enforcement, because enforcement is going to do what it's supposed to do to make sure that the children is well taken care of. Contempt actions can have criminal consequences, potentially leading to jail, time as a result of non-payment. All right, so you know that you can be arrested. You know that your license can get suspended. You know that you need to be in communication with enforcement to make sure those payments are being paid. All right, because what we don't want to do is show signs of neglect when it comes to our children. That's what we don't want to do. That's what gets us in trouble. How does the 14th Amendment protect parents' rights? Most recently, the court declared that Washington versus Glucksberg in the 1997 case, that the Constitution and specifically the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment protects the fundamental rights of parents of their children. Okay, so it protects you to direct their care. It protects you to for the upbringing of our children, and it also protects us for the education decisions that we'll make regarding our children. All right. Court again unequivocally affirmed the fundamental rights of parents to direct, secure custody, and control of their children. So here in this clause with Trexel and Gainesville, they put in custody, all right, direct the care and custody and control. They use custody and control in the 2000 case. All right, so make sure that we're tapping into the language, we're understanding what we're up against, and we're paying attention. All right, and we're doing our research to find out what's really going on. All right, in the Drexel, this court stated that so long as a parent adequately cares for his or her child, there will normally be no reason for the state to interject itself into the private room of the family to further question the ability of the parent to make the best decisions concerning the rearing of that child, of that parent's child. All right, so the court don't want to get involved if they don't have to get involved. They don't want to get involved. They expect us to do it. They expect us to communicate with one another and be able to do it. They expect us to put our feelings to the side and refocus on what's in the best interest of our child. And I need to follow this up with a DNA class, like, because that tops everything when I do the DNA class. Domestic violence. So let's move into the domestic violence piece. But I know we have a lot of advocates and students that are, wanting to know more about how the two could link and how they intertwine and how, victims end up being killed behind those child support uh, enforcement cases. So here we have it where parent and or child murdered for child support. All right. He finally met his son, then killed the mother and grandmother. A jury found this person guilty. Mr. Turner killed Ebony Wright and her mother after Wright filed for custody and child support to help care for her son Monday, April the 12th, 2021. And the location was Good Hope Road in Southeast DC. I remember this case. I sort of kind of remember this case where they did die because of that, because the mom wanted to do what was in the best interest of the child. But again, we don't know what those phone calls were like. We don't know what those text messages are like. We don't know, what the background, what led up to that. But what we do know is that papers were filed for child support, and maybe he could have been, ranting about it, and she ended up dead, and her mother ended up dead, and the son ended up dead. Right? He finally met his son, then killed the mother and grandmother. I'm sorry, so the son is still alive, but the mother and grandmother was killed. All right. Maryland father confessed to killing his 2-year-old daughter and her mother in the court document. So this is different because he confessed to do it. Mr. Johnson, Broswell Johnson, had been ordered to pay the mother of his daughter $600 in monthly child support. Sources said that Miss Davis, 26 years old, the mother and daughter were shot outside their townhouse about 11 p.m. On a Tuesday in Fort Washington, Maryland. I do remember this case as well, where the young lady was murdered because of this. I can't really remember the year, but I think it may have been right after my daughter was murdered. So that's why it kind of stand out to me. And I think I spoke with her sister and family or something of the sort that I can remember. But I absolutely remember her being killed and the baby being killed. That stuck out to me. And the mom and daughter was just so beautiful. She was well on her way, and she was just trying to do the right thing for her child. But Mr. Broswell Johnson just wasn't seen eye to eye in terms of, his child support payment. So, um, you know, God rest his soul. Um, but it's tragic when you have to die because you want to do what is right for your child. Um, maybe we're not able to communicate. Maybe we're not able to, be around each other long. Maybe I feel like, when we do talk, we're just going in circles. We're not getting anything accomplished for the child. Maybe you are that parent who just wants something, set in stone that you can read, that you can see, and that, you can present to the other parents. Look, well, here's what we agreed on outside of court. Maybe enforcement is not there yet, but we're outside the court at the dinner table trying to agree upon something that, you're not making good on. So, and there are times where you know, you have to do what's in the best interest. You have to have enforcement help you with the communication, help you with the mediation, help you try to get that $125,000 that your child is due from that other parent. All right. A suspect is still on the run, killing a judge at his home in targeted attack after a child custody ruling. Um, this was in Hagerstown, Maryland, and this was just 2023. So this case is under a year old. Uh, Wilkinson, a county circuit court judge, was in his own driveway with his wife and son at home when he was shot, Albert said. The 52-year-old was found around 8 p.m. in the northern Maryland city of Hagerstown, then taken to a medical facility where he died. The sheriff's office reported that. So unfortunately, look how it trickles over to a judge being killed because he awarded custody in favor of the other parent. So child support and domestic violence are two, they can go hand to hand and be very dangerous for a parent who's trying to do what's in the best interest of the child. All right. Let's move on to our next slide. This case was pretty interesting to me because the child support guidelines have also been criticized for requiring boys and men that are victims of sexual assault to pay child support to the woman who sexually assaulted them. Then go to town on me with this here. I'm trying to figure out, why do men and boys have to pay child support to a woman that raped them? I'm not understanding that part. I'm literally not understanding that part. Okay. Um, uh, Herseman and Syria, Seer, I say that right, or Sire, or Seer, whereby whereby a male victim of statutory rape was required to pay child support to the mother. Okay, in the case of SF versus TM, I should have said that, in 1996. A man who produced evidence that the mother of the child raped him while he was unconscious was nevertheless ordered to pay child support. Men who assert that a child was conceived because of deception or sperm theft have also challenged their obligations to pay child support. Now, we know, and you know, and I know that if a man can prove that he was raped, he should not be paying child support to his rapist. Because if a woman was raped, she dare not pay child support to the rapist. Uh-uh. No, 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 no. If somebody been raped, like that's a whole nother situation when it comes to child support. I feel like child support itself should step in and help people that are raped and have children. Child support enforcement should just step in and take care of those children of parents that have been raped by somebody. And that's including a spouse. If they can prove it, child support should automatically have a bank of money that will help women and men, uh, young women and men that have been raped and they had their babies. Yes, child support enforcement themselves, child support agency should help them take care of their children. Literally, cut them a $430 check a month. Yes, they're gonna get social service and they're gonna get some things from there and they're gonna get, free benefits in terms of, health care and all those good things. They're gonna get essential food stamps. But what if the parents are working? What if the parents make enough money? Because we have a lot of people, a lot of men and boys who get raped and they make good money. They have careers and stuff. But we don't take these to really say that they've been, and they proven that they've been raped. We do not take their cases serious enough, and so they come up short of the law. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair to a brother. It's not fair to a sister. It's not fair. Period. And so this right here stuck out to me because guess what? We don't talk about this at our dinner table either. We none of us don't know nobody, so-called anyway. None of us don't know nobody who a young boy or young man or a grown man who been raped. We just don't know these people. And especially not by a woman. We just don't feel like women will put the date rape drug in a man's drink and get pregnant. Oh yes, they will. Yes, they will. And there are cases right here in your face. Here's one to prove to you that our young men get drugged and raped too. We don't it don't say specifically here in this case how she got him pregnant. But what it shows is that a man produced the evidence that the mother of the child raped him. So what was that evidence that he showed? Did she put something in his drink? Did she put something in his food? How did she get that man to not use his strength? So, I mean, I'm not sure if you can use a knife. I'm not sure if a woman can hold a knife or hold a gun and try to rape a man. I'm not sure about that. All right. I feel like he would have to be sedated or slightly sedated or something of that effect to make him, um, to have him be raped like that. So that's just my take on it. But it is interesting to say the least. And this is the conversation that we need to be having with our young boys and our young girls. We need to let our young girls know that their sons can be victims of rape by a woman. Pursuing child support, threats. 75% of it is the threats. The abuser can use child support as another way to maintain or regain control over the victim. They may threaten that they will never pay child support if their partners leave. Valid responses. I mean, 50% of it is valid responses, and that's what we saw that the cases where these people were murdered in these cases because of the valid responses. The separation and subsequent child support actions may trigger a valid response from the abuser, male or female, even when past abuse was not physical. The past abuse could have been verbal, it could have been emotional, certainly financial abuse. If the person is not owning up to their part of the child support, it's definitely financial abuse. But then it can also turn physical and it can also turn deadly very quickly, which is what we saw. The lack of financial support, that's 50% of it, because what? Stability is a significant reason that domestic violence victims stay in or return to abusive relationships. 50% of battered women in one study said they stayed in the abusive relationship because they felt they could not support themselves and their children. And that's where I tell y'all, stop telling victims to just leave their relationships because, as I said in the beginning, they have to devise a plan. All right. I'm gonna jump to the legal aspect. Here I go right here. In domestic right now. End it right now. Do not wait to begin to end it at your dinner table. Start today ending it at your dinner table. And you can do that in secret. You can do that by reaching out to 1-800-799-SAFE and getting those local resources in your state to figure out what that plan could actually look like when we talking about. Do not threaten the abuser with child support and all the custody and all these things before you have exited the relationship. Get yourself safe before you start talking all that other stuff, all those threats that we be dear. No, 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 no. You never let the abuser know your plan because they will kill you for it. Okay. So there are a lot of things when a victim is in a situation, he or she have to walk a fine line. Okay. They have to walk a fine line, a strategic line. All right. Before they can start talking some custody and putting them on child support and all this. Victims need to get safe. Male and female victims need to get safe first. Legal, legal, legal. Let's talk a little bit about the legal domestic violence statistics. Of course, we just talked about that. But family violence accounted for 11% of all reported and unreported violence between 1998 and 2002. Of these, roughly 3.5 million violent crimes committed against family members, 49% were crimes against spouses, 11% were sons or daughters that were victimized by a parent. 41% were crimes against against other family members. All right. So clearly, right here in this statistic, we going for each other at that table. We constantly go for each other at that dinner table, and we be corrupt right at our dinner table. And then we go outside and be in stuff and be in the other people's dinner tables and be in the other people's business, and we be corrupt. These statistics are not lying to us. Children under the age of 13 were 22% of them were murdered victims killed by a family member, and just over 3% of non-family murder victims. You got more children under the age of 13 years old that were killed by the family. 3% was killed by somebody who wasn't the family. We got to do better. The average age among sons and daughters killed by a parent was 7 years, and 4 out of 5 victims were killed by a parent were under the age of 13 years old. This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace to the human race. And we ain't even gonna get into the race of these statistics. We talking about the family. I don't care what your race is at this point, whether it's my race or your race. These numbers are alarming. Simple as that. That's where I'm at with it. Okay. Child support attorneys are particularly likely to encounter safety concerns in the context of legal proceedings and hearing preparation, and those actions pose heightened risk for survivors. So as the survivor is more at risk for this, the child support attorneys are at risk for domestic violence as well. Attorneys play an important role in evaluating cases and working with other child support program staff, the courts, and domestic violence advocates to ensure that wherever possible, child support services are provided safely. All right. So even the bystanders, like we saw the judge was murdered, even the attorneys are at risk when we have cases that involve domestic violence. Safely pursuing child support is a key issue for domestic violence victims, and providing children support services safely to survivors is a key issue for child support programs. Research finds that 90% of domestic violence victims want to pursue child support if they can do it safely. Like I said, you have to get somewhere safe in order to start talking about pursuing child support. If a victim is in this situation and you know this abuser know everything about you, male abuser know everything about the male or female victim, your life is still uh, your life is still not yours. It's still not yours, especially if that abuser know everything about you, and especially if you remain local. Your life is really never yours. Okay, so you have to process that, understand that, realize that, and do everything that you want to do in terms of child support. Do it when you feel the most safe. Do it when you feel the most safe. Okay. Don't let nobody tell you, oh, you got to do it now. Do it when you feel the most safe. Do it when victims have gotten to that courage level and say, I don't care. I will do whatever I need to do to make sure my children get what they deserve. All right. When you reach that confidence level, that encouragement level, when you got that support around you, hopefully it's family support. But when we got that support around us, we can move forward. All right. Build strong partnerships with local and state domestic violence programs, as I just said, and coalitions, and engage in ongoing cross training. The more staff understand about domestic violence, the better equipped they are to help victims. All right. So that's for all my, like I called y'all out earlier, my cosmetology people, my police or first responders, my first responders that are in the faith-based community and ministry. You need to go through the training to understand how you can be a better help to someone who may need child support moving forward. All right. So the cross training is very important. This is why QueenAfi sits up here and have these conversations with you all, because you need to understand that it's not just domestic violence and it's not just a man beating a woman. It's not just that anymore. It is so huge. It is so huge. And to my stars out there, y'all know over the years how many conversations we have had, how many talks we have had. Y'all know that it is that this conversation, domestic violence, is huge. It is huge. My students out there know the truth. As noted above, by helping the agencies develop these partnerships with domestic violence programs, the child support attorney can ensure that domestic violence service providers have a better understanding of the child support program and process in place to help ensure a person can safely seek that child support. We want that mom and dad to be able to safely seek the child support for their child or for their children. We want the children to win here. All right. We want children to have that $125,000 per parent that they deserve. Okay. No matter what we see, some new Prada glasses, some new hair, some new MAC makeup, some new nail, some new chains, some new suits because our brothers wear it, some new hat. No matter what you see, the only way that the courts will get involved and entertain a child not having what they need in terms of child support is the child is in a domestic violence situation, the child is experiencing child abuse, the child is malnourished, the child is socially uh, declined, the child is underdeveloped, and pediatricians back you up with that. Pediatricians, therapists, psychologists, uh, things that can back you up on that if that is the case. Okay. Um, in certain circumstances, Section 312 of the UIFSA permits addresses and or identifying information of a child or party to be withheld from pleadings or other documents filed in connection with the proceeding. Um, no tribunal finding of risk is required. Okay. Section 312, non-disclosure of information in exceptional circumstances. All right. If a party alleges that, or under oath is saying that the health and safety or liberty of a party or a child will be jeopardized by disclosure of specific identification, that information must be sealed and must not be disclosed to the other party or the public. So here we're saying that if the victim does not feel safe with identifying and giving up information, they are protected from not doing so. Okay. So victims, if you feel like you don't want that other person to know your whereabouts because y'all are in a domestic violence situation, then you have protection. All right. You don't give that information up to the other. They'll have to try to work that out in another way. Okay. But so long as you are working with your attorney, your child support attorney, or child support agency, and or a domestic violence program or advocate, then that's what they're there for, to help protect you against um that partner, that violent partner, male or female violent partner. Okay. Also, we're seeing male and male relationships, we're seeing female and female relationships, and they are getting children together. Okay, legally getting children together. And so this is going to apply to them as well. They are not singled out. It does not specifically say, and that's a good thing, because guess what? We know that in America, your parent can be two men, your parent can be two women. So, with that being said, domestic violence don't care who your parent is. Don't care what color your parent is. It don't care if it's two women, two men. It don't care if it's a male or female. Don't care if it's the grandmother, the grandfather. Don't care if it's the auntie or the uncle. Domestic violence don't care about any of that. It will come and steal your life for child support. Okay, because you got some male and female abusers out here. They're just not going for it. Okay, so you have to do this after. Somebody say, well, QueenAfi, what would you tell somebody who's going through it, know they in a domestic violence relationship? What type of advice would you? I would say wait until you get safe to start the child support process. Okay, because probably in that relationship, you already been threatened. I'm gonna put child support on you. I'm gonna put child support. I'm gonna put child support on you. I'm gonna put child support on you. Y'all been threatening each other in the first place. And then when somebody go do it, that other person in there feeling like, oh my God, he or she really did it. So we have to be smart, okay, when we thinking about doing something like this. All right. Um, and here are some resources. In 2023, child support programs nationwide collected $29.6 billion and served 1 in 5 children in the United States. This kind of support helps families thrive and sets kids up to succeed. Set our children up to succeed. That's what we want them to do. And we want two parents to be a part of that success, if at all possible. Okay? We want two of the parents to be. We don't want mommies and daddies to die. We don't want mommies and daddies and children to die. We don't want judges and attorneys to die. To just get what the child deserve. Are you serious? Something that you could have did together at the dinner table outside of the court system. You still have to stick to the order. If you're going to write up the order at home between you and that other person, you still have to stick to the order. You cannot stop those payments whenever you feel like it or without communication and or without proof that you're not able, but you're working on trying to get it. You know what I mean? You're working, you got a plan. That other parent deserves to see that there's enough plan in place to be able to pick those payments back up. This is outside of the court. Okay. I don't want enforcement involved because it does lead to death. It does lead to a lot of victims, male and females, being killed. So initially, that's not what we want. But when you feel certain situations, certain circumstances, and stuff that you can't relate to in terms of the children, you need some mediation there to help with that communication in terms of getting the children what they need. All right. Some of you can come in my office. I've worked with you know, students that had child support issues and been able to guide them through that situation because it is a struggle to try to do that. Okay. So that's that. Any last questions? Of course, I do want to hear from you all. Please don't be afraid to, reach out to QueenAfi and know, how you feel. If you learn something, always say was two things you learn. At least put the two things you learn out there for a sister. Let me know. At least put something out there you didn't learn. Put something out there, I can take constructive criticism. All right. I know I'm not at the dinner table by myself. So I like to hear from the dinner table. That's what we do. We have dinner table conversation. We not here to hurt no. We here to love on you. We here to love on each other and try to get through this for the best interest of the children. Okay, that's all I care about, and I'm very passionate and about it because I know as a young parent what I've done. You see, to risk my children's lives, something that I will never do again, and something that still causes me a lot of pain. It still causes me a lot of pain. So when it comes to the children, it's a delicate piece for me. It's a delicate piece for me. I want our young people to have what they supposed to have and not have to go to my high school, McKinley High School, and go and get their clothes washed and get laundry detergent and hygiene products from the school because the school put the laundry room in it. That is unfair to lack of financial responsibility. And yes, that can look in many ways. Our brothers and sisters face COVID, lost jobs, wasn't able, still not able. We have those things that are going on, you know, and we have football players like Terry who wanted to give back. And this is something that he saw was a need um, for Ward 5 children over at McKinley Senior High School, right? But should that be a thing? No. But you know what? He said, I'm gonna feel a need. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do as a football player to give back and make sure that the young people have somewhere safe to wash their clothes and they can feel confident, feel like, okay, I'm ready for this lesson. I'm ready to do what I gotta do. I look at my young people and some of our young guys are so skinny, they so small because they got eating disorders. They have severe eating disorders on top of addiction disorders. So there are certain needs that God has placed us here to do certain things for certain people in our lives and do things for our community, and that's the need that he saw. And it really is a need. It really is a need. I don't know about at the school, but at the school, that's what God sent him to, the school. Okay, so all of us at the dinner table need to be putting our heads together and figuring out what we need to do. We need to get a laundry in the local school for our young people to wash their clothes and feel like they are confident and ready to learn on that day. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Thank you so much for chiming in tonight. I'm going to leave out a little later. I like to stay in a while and just fool around and kind of be here for some of my brothers and sisters. I'm a little emotional too because tomorrow is would have been 8 years ago, um, the day that I buried my daughter on August the 13th. And so, my daughter was shot in the head by her baby father. And the murder turned 8 years old on 7/30, 2016. But we had our candlelight visual on August the 8th, 2016. And then her funeral was August the 13th, 2016. And so tomorrow is that day. And I definitely feel a little emotional. Y'all know how I get. And but I'm so proud to be here with you, my brothers and sisters. I'm always so honored, to be here with you all and sit in the classroom and just be able to share and get that energy out there. And especially for something like this, because I was doing this before my daughter passed. I was doing this before my daughter passed. and I'm still doing it. And so it means so much to me to still be able to sit before you and have these conversations 8 years later after my daughter passed. So this one goes out to you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for every prayer. Thank you for all of our dinner table conversations we were having before my daughter was murdered and she was a part of, and everything that we're doing now. Keep on keeping that message out there, Smile for Smiley Love Movement. And getting that word out there about domestic violence and how families really are affected by it, and how young children, they really don't need to go through something like that. They really don't deserve it. And that's why my daughter encouraged me to have that talk. My daughter encouraged me to have those conversations. My daughter knew that she saw something in me that still makes me come up and talk about it right now today. She saw something in me. She put something in me. She gave me something. Um, and I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for chiming in tonight. Thank you so much for chiming in tonight, my brothers and my sisters. Oh, I'm going to go back here because I want to hear my song before I depart. I like to hear a little bit of
This is Young Motive, and I have a topic today.
See if it'll come up.
That's often overlooked. Domestic violence. Domestic violence wears many tags. So QueenAfi, if you're
right. Wears many tags. So QueenAfi, if you're listening, check it out. That's my buddy right there, Young Motive. He ain't Young Motive though no more. He a grown man now. And he put this relation song together for me almost, I want to say over 10 years now.
With the topic of the
and it's still
situation that we all must pay more attention to. It's bringing families
and I
down.
love to play this.
I know the truth and I'ma spread it around. It usually happens at home behind closed doors, but it's spreading through high schools and college dorm floors. For the victim, it's like they got their head in the noose from all the scars of the physical and verbal abuse. Men do it to women, women do it to men. It's a cycle that happens over and over again. It's disturbing and far from bliss, and each and every child is emotionally affected by this.
I don't know why my camera's
we bring
jumping
the
like
dark
that.
to the light to stop the 911 calls in the middle of the night. So I'm reaching out and I hope it's worth my while. It's erasing the bond between man, woman, and child.
Domestic violence, it has to
crazy.
stop. The kids are
I don't want him to do that,
crying.
y'all.
It's coming down
I
like
don't.
raindrops.
I'm sorry.
It's a behavior we can't condone. It's breaking up our
Yes, it is.
homes. Let's get it together.
I thank y'all for joining me tonight. Tonight was a very interesting topic again. As we talked about, August is Child Support Awareness Month. We talked about the dark side of child support and domestic violence. And it was some very important, good points that were passed tonight in the classroom. I'm looking forward to you all chiming in and posting your comments and questions and things of that sort. Doing the replays for us. Follow us at YouTube. Type in Dvwmt 96 in the YouTube search bar. Our channel will come up. Follow us, share, because we definitely be having good conversation. And we have it for everybody at the dinner table. We don't want to single out no one at the dinner table. We make sure that our conversation is for everybody at the dinner table. Okay? And that dinner table is a metaphor. It can go on the road with you. It can go in the bathroom with you. It can go in the classroom with you. It can go various places with you. So just remember that you know, domestic violence, we out here having that hard topic, dinner table conversations. We preparing our young people for the struggle through communication and giving them a platform to ask those hard questions and get some validation and some answers. That's the best thing in the world. The best gift in the world that we can give our children is the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Those are the best answers and questions in that communication and dialogue that we can give our children. That is something they will never, never forget. Okay? Never forget. Go in peace and love, my brothers and sisters. Go in peace and love. Thank you for chiming in tonight.